Thank you, Renita. Okay, well, thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. I would like to say that my mother tongue is Spanish, so I will do my best in English. Sorry if I make any mistake. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much to the International Garifuna Conference Committee for giving me the opportunity to participate in this edition of this important event. I'd like to thank Mr. David Archie Williams and our friend and sister, Ms. Zoila Brown. Also, I would like to greet Mr. Francisco Perez Santana, head of the Venezuelan diplomatic mission here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, who is accompanying me in the presentation of this topic. Ecosocialism conception of the world from the indigenous people. I would like to say before my PowerPoint presentation that last year I shared a topic that has to be with the importance that we have to discuss in our communities, in our institution, in our university, the importance that has to be the Afro-descendant and indigenous philosophy as a way of live, to live in our country, but also to denounce the epistemicide. In Spanish is epistemicidio. It's the way that the academic center has to cover, to do not present our experiences. So this conference is the way, and I congratulate all the organizers and the participants from different spaces and centers. And also I admire the Garifuna culture because in Venezuela, and I talked about this last year, we have more than 32 indigenous people, indigenous groups, more than 20 indigenous languages. And also we have a very long history of struggle that our indigenous group did and have done in Venezuela since we had the period of colonization, sorry. So allow me to share the presentation that I would like to, sorry, let me close this one. Okay. Okay, we'd like to start with this picture. If you can see, ladies and gentlemen, it's Piedra Cueca. La Piedra Cueca is one of our natural and material heritage that our Pemon community indigenous from Venezuela recovered since it was extracted. I don't want to say it was stolen because the government of at that time in 1998 from Venezuela, they sold these stone to the German government. So last year, it was a very nice news that we had that this group of indigenous people from Venezuela, Pemon indigenous group that we have in Venezuela, they recovered this stone. So this is the picture that I decided to present to you to start this important topic. I'd like to start this presentation with an idea of the Commander Hugo Chavez, former president of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela and leader of the Bolivarian Revolution, who in one of his speech in the United Nations on climate change, held in Copenhagen, Denmark on December 16, 2009, he said, open quote, let's not change the climate. Let's change the system. And consequently, we will begin to save the planet. Capitalism, the destructive development model, is ending life and threatens to definitely end the human species. It was the expression that Chavez said at that moment to denounce what happened in our country, in all of our country, in our America. Let me tell you something. When I say our America, I refer to the concept from Francisco de Miranda, Simón Bolívar, and José Martí, that they say that all our country from all Americas are our America. desde el Río Bravo, from the Brave River to the Patagonia, and all the Caribbean. That is why we listen to me to say in some of the ideas that I'm going to share with you, our America. The purpose of this paper is to unveil some of the epistemic conceptions of ecosocialism as an essential category to consider the construction of a new Venezuelan communal state, whose essential foundation come from the original culture of indigenous people. Epistemic notions about ecosocialism. Latin America and the Caribbean are among the regions affected by neoliberal policies. The history of peoples, and in particular those of Latin America and the Caribbean, is marked by constant violation of geographical spaces, cultural identities, and humanity. The looting, the cultural plundering, the historical and profound genocide suffered for centuries have marked a patriarchal and exclusionary logic of being Afro-descendant and indigenous. Therefore, it is urgent to build Black and indigenous epistemologies and cultural practices in a context where the capitalist system is overwhelming. In this regard, Michael Lowy points out that the planet suffers from a number of actions considered ecological catastrophes, such as floods, storms, environmental degradation, water poisoning, loss of biodiversity, disappearance of species through pesticides, which consequently generates forest fires and sea level rising with the melting of the Antarctic ice. This reality has its foundations in the mode of production and consumption of the modern industrial capitalist civilization. So that an essential contradiction is placed. One contradiction that is the one that we are trying to build is the aspiration raised by the social and indigenous movement of our America at the Ayala and the Bolivarian social project to achieve the preservation of life on the planet and the salvation of the human species. When I say preservation of life, it has to be with the objective number 5 that we have in our plan that was made by the Bolivarian Revolution. One of the objective is to preserve our life and to save the life in our planet. This is the stage that we hope, but we are fighting against this other idea, the shortcomings that are presented in the economic, social, cultural, and environmental strategic order to specify the eco-socialist productive economic model that is grounded from the formation of an eco-socialist economy. These essential contradictions are expressed in a socialist society against the barbarism. So we put in on the table, we talk about and we discuss which kind of state and nation we are trying to build against the globalization, a just and alternative society against the ecological and economic distribution conflicts. We hope that we can build a socialism against the barbarism. We hope that we can believe and build the living well, good living, the buen vivir, el vivir bien, against the colonialism, capitalism, industrial colonialization. In this scenario, and without losing sight of the social, economic, cultural, and environmental threats of which the Venezuelan people have been victims in the face of the aggressions of the American empire, it is urgent to rethink the relevance of the social science in their relationship with the category of participation, popular organization, and eco-socialism from what is stated in the Constitution of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, the organic laws of people's power, and the plan of the law of homeland. Therefore, eco-socialism constitutes more than a category of analysis, but the concept of the word. In this sense, Mathieu makes some consideration of eco-socialism and buen vivir. good living, the translation in English, which means establishing the dialogical fact between two alternatives to capitalism. The good living is still a political concept under discussion. It is in political dispute, but however, it has been conceptualized from three currents, three theories. One of them is culturalist, environmentalist, and eco-Marxist conceptions. Buen vivir is conceived as one of the theories that are thought as alternative to capitalism, putting into dialogue the nations that come from different cultures. Buen vivir, far from being an ancestral category, based on the contribution of a Quechua linguistic summa causae. It is an epistemological invention that feeds on ecological struggle and Andean way of life. We are talking about summa causal, which is a concept that comes from Ecuador indigenous group that we have in South America and also Bolivia. The way that they have to defend their rights to have their own land, to produce their own ground provisions, to live about fish, from fish, is the way that they have and they call summa causa. So these three currents are the first one from Corriente Culturalista. The culturalist current, the good living renounces the logic of living better. It means individualistic vision. It remove the human being from society and the exploitation of the human being by the human being. Recover the primacy of life, the community vision, and renew the relationship between human beings and nature. Go from anthropocentrism to biopocentrism. Build an economic at service of community. Exercise of community participation, recognizing the own logic of organization and management of community life. Rethinks the structure of the state by recognizing the plurinational and intercultural state and recognizing cultural diversity, indigenous people are heirs and ancestral knowledge. They are legitimate bearers of the summa causa. For the ecologist current, which is the second one, good living, when vivir, constitutes a political platform through which a critique of development is made, which is why it's attributed to the notion of development but does not question the model. It emphasizes the predatory nature of the capitalist systems, the excessive exploitation of nature, which does not imply an improvement in the living condition of the population. This current is supported by some traditions in what is called deep ecology. It means access, pay tribute to, recognition of the nature, and defense of the rights of nature as a subject of rights. In other words, abandon extractivism, which involves assuming that it does not necessarily live capitalism. This is come from a part of the next one, which is the Marxist conception. For its part, the Marxist, eco-Marxist current differs from the other two currents as it assumes the community dimension of life, the human being as a social being, the overcoming of the domination of nature by human beings. They criticize the culturalist current. They call them the Pachamónicos, since they present indigenous people on an essentialist side. This current aims at defending the rights of nature, natural resources belong to the nation, and promote regional integration. It is sustained from the anti-capitalist, of course, post-extractivism conception as a means to pass, change the socioeconomic structure of society. Those three conceptions, currents, that we can find in this discussion about ecosocialism has their own way as they develop in South America. In South America, in most of the countries like Ecuador, Venezuela, Ecuador, Bolivia, Peru, they have this conception that come from the first one, culturalist and ecologist current, which is summa causa. El buen vivir is the name that they have made to this conception. From this context, from this context, uh, and understanding the need to give the debate in relation to positioning in the academic socioproductive agenda that the great homeland demands. It is proposed as an epistemic conception to think about the creation of a component. This is a discussion that we have to give in our community, to have in our community, that have to be what kind of a conception that we need. Because if we I'm trying to fight against the model that comes from the capitalism. It is complex that we can talk about the ways that we have to defend our rights as indigenous people while we are inside of the capitalist model. The proposal that the movement from Venezuela that they are doing with, I mean, giving with this ecosocialism is the way that they have, okay, I have the land, I produce the land for everybody. I mean, we produce the land for everybody and we share our knowledge, we share our products, we share our economy because we believe in the way that we call and we say communal, the community way that we have to produce. So from this context, we are talking about to think about this component, living well, Mother Earth, that I prefer to say Pachamama. This is the way that we have a conception that we have indigenous Latin American groups, Pachamama and ecosocialism in our community. The components are considered as sets of knowledge and practices that constitute a training axis and that can be defined in terms of thematic nuclear topic problems. They have their own characteristics and contribute in an interrelated way to comprehensive of the concept living well, Pachamama, and ecosocialism. So it's important, the following idea that I'm going to present to you. What do we have to be concentrated in? The understanding of territorial space from the cosmogonic identities of ancestral peoples. The understanding and defense of Pachamama, Abyayala, as a subject in the relation of man-woman, la relación hombre-mujer, Mother Earth, relationship towards the epistemological deconstruction of the dominant colonization thought. The recognition of a territorial natural heritage as a sovereign multicultural space of living well as an organization model that allows interactions and mutual economic support in the context of the People's Trade Agreement declared in the ALBA TCP, the Bolivarian Alliance for Our Peoples, which is the alliance where some of the countries that are in South America, Latin America, and the Caribbean take part. The recognition of social processes within a system of reciprocal interactions between diverse natures, which enhance the holistic consciousness of Pachamama in concrete reality. The conception of the eco-socialist culture that breaks into the hegemonic models of production and consumption and transform the logic of development. The understanding of the eco-development notion from the contribution of our American political ecology that guarantee the preservation of life on the planet and the salvation of the human species. The eco-socialism must contribute to the transformation of community spaces and allow for citizen participation in favor of sustainable development, contributing to the social productive generating an impact on the whole of society and providing economic and practical responses. It is urgent to promote a new socialist productive model which, taking into account all the geographical, economic, and humanistic potentialities, takes advantage of scientific advances to turn them into its own technology that transforms the way of life of citizens so that they can make use of their freedoms and produce what the country really requires. It is necessary to study and understand the territorial space from the cosmogonic identity of the ancestral people and the rich culture of solidarity cooperation, not force, in the construction of the system of distinctive relationships that characterize the new state that is the communal state. The communal state that Venezuela is trying to get. Promote the analysis, interpretation, and strengthening of community organization. We have some ways from our indigenous and popular, our people, the way that we have to organize communal council, community corridors, and its transcendent protagonist participation in the configuration of a model of production and social distribution of goods for the good life of living well from the perspective of the original worldview. Of course, taking into account the current social and political context. Incorporation of the eco-development category from the contribution of our American political ecology that contributes to the preservation of life on the planet and the salvation of the human species. Discussion and problematization of the immediate community reality, making use of philosophical, but more than philosophical, practical ways that we have to get our rights, and also the way that our people in our country have to defend, and also to understand the identity that our indigenous people have. We have in Venezuela the el Ministerio del Poder Popular para el ecosocialismo, the Ministry of Ecosocialism, that has a very huge project that has to be with the preservation, how to take care of our land, of our air, but also more than this one that has to be with the good living, el buen vivir, suma causai, in our Abya have to be with the way that we think about our indigenous group. My final idea has to be with the concept of Pachamama. Pacha is the universality, the universe, and mama, the initial word of all our childhood, is the mother. The Pachamama is the earth that allows itself to be fertilized, endures, produces life, and our life. So we have to think about this area that we are thinking in, and we are working in Venezuela, that have to be with the ecological, social, and democratic area. So we have to reorganize the production of the protection of nature, respecting their life cycles, head towards the reorientation of the economy, cultural change of consciousness, which generates a decrease in the consumption of energy. This is very important, objects and material. Think about new collective emancipation linked to the protection of nature, reappropriation of the means of production, transformation of social relations, considering various forms of properties, public collective compatible with the objective of ecosocialism, democratic ethics, which is the responsibility of social movement and people. It's implied a decrease in consumption, because when we talk about also capitalism, we have to give the discussion about what do we consume. And finally, I would like to thank you with this image, which is Abya, Nuestra América, Somos Acá. And if you see, you can see the map in the other way around, that our indigenous people in South America, in Venezuela, defend this concept, because it's the term that has been used by our indigenous movement in the Americas to refer to the American continent from the native people stance. Abya is an ethical attitude acknowledging the various original people right to live, to exist, and keep the history. We have a challenge, many challenges, and we have to defend our identity. And we in Venezuela are working to preserve our indigenous group, but also to preserve our natural resources that most of you know, that the imperialist forces want to stall, to continue the colonialization in our country. Thank you very much.